Hello and welcome to part 6 of my Dark Souls video walkthrough. Today, as I promised, I'll be tying up the loose ends and also finishing up the Undead Parish. First things first, we have someone to meet.
Well, you must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astoria. If you require smithing, then speak to me. Most weapons and armor are mighty sturdy indeed, but every hunk of metal has its breaking point. If you notice durability running low, it's time to repair. You can ask a blacksmith like myself, or do it on your own with a grindstone. The nice thing about weapons, they never betray you, so pay them a little respect, eh? There are two types of weapon forging. There's reinforcement and there's ascension. Reinforcement is simple. It strengthens the weapon and nothing more. A simple task for any blacksmith. Hell, you could even do it yourself with a smith box. But ascension's a finer art. It alters a weapon's properties. Ascension is the territory of we blacksmiths. A smith box just won't do the trick. Start out with reinforcement. When that loses its charm, you can consider ascension. As you've noticed, this land is flush with the mad and wicked. You won't make it through the night without employing my services. You can forge armor just like you do weapons. Forging armor is even easier than forging weapons. Whether you forge weapons or armor first, well, that's up to you. But nobody wants to see you go hollow. So whatever you do, you'd better do it well.
So aside from upgrading your equipment, he's also able to sell you some stuff. Titanite shards allow you to do basic upgrades for most basic weapons. And he sells various smith boxes, allowing you to upgrade and repair equipment at bonfires. Then there's a selection of basic weapons, more strength focused than the undead merchant ones we saw earlier, and some shields, including morph shields with 100% physical block, but you should already have some at this stage.
Don't get yourself killed. Neither of us want to see you go hollow.
Alright, next. If you remember from my mage, I ran past a rather scary looking enemy last time around. And today it's time to deal with him. Since this is mostly just standing here and using ranged attacks once I have gotten the distance right, the Blacksmith is your first opportunity to upgrade your weapons, unless you've gone back to Rickard. But since this is also the first point where you can really get the upgrade materials in a reasonable way, probably until you've reached him you will be running your basic unupgraded weapons. He sells the Titanite shards, which are required to upgrade most basic weapons. There are also some special weapons that you could have already gotten that require Twinkling Titanite. The Astoria straight sword that I'm using on my cleric is actually one of those. So that's the reason he does so much damage at this point. I have killed 2 crystal lizards. You have seen both of them, the ones before Taurus and the one when doing the shortcut through the Valley of the Drakes, the one that we found just near the Grasscrest shield. And this guy drops another type of upgrade material, Demon Titanite, which we cannot use yet at all. Okay, so let's head back into the parish. And since I'm still using an unupgraded axe here, you can see my damage is pretty low. A backstab doesn't even one-hit kill these standard enemies anymore. And this is the game telling you that it really is time to upgrade. In addition to that, you will also be encountering quite a few enemies at this stage that drop the Titanite shards, so you don't even have to buy them if you're short on souls. Now entering the church here, there's a more formidable enemy, who luckily doesn't respawn, but who will also follow you quite a ways. You can parry him, as you can see in the top right corner right now, but you cannot riposte him. He's also fairly susceptible to the fireballs, so ranged characters can once again be reasonably safe. He will always drop a Titanite shard. He also has a chance to drop pieces of the steel set and his great axe, and I believe he can also drop the steel shield. Then on this altar there's a Firekeeper soul, the second one I've obtained, but if you don't know the way to get to New Londo, then it will be your first, so you can use this to upgrade the Estus Flask. Now as we go down this elevator, you may be able to just very briefly see a message flash up using the Seek Guidance command. It was just there for an instant, but we'll now go up again to get a clearer view. Right here, this message is basically telling you that you can get off the elevator here and access some previously inaccessible areas. It just says path ahead. And then from up here we can drop down onto this buttress, and there's another message saying here. Now I won't be going further through this area yet, because this is a little more advanced, and I'll save that for just a little later. But you can grab the Undead Asylum F2 West key right now, just so you can't forget later, because it will be relevant. And yeah, more info on that momentarily. Aside from that, that's really all there is to be seen here. So now let's see what the Crestfallen Warrior has to say to us.
Don't you ever think to forge your weapons? You'd better find a smith box soon, unless you enjoy swinging about with blunt instruments. Oh, have you seen that terribly morose lass? The Firekeeper. She's stuck keeping that bonfire lit. Sad, really. She's mute and bound to this forsaken place. They probably cut her tongue out back in her village, so that she'd never say any god's name in vain. How do these martyrs keep chugging along? I'd peter out in an instant. What now?
And that's just one more thing he has to say to us right now.
You again? There's nothing to speak about, really. Oh, actually, something strange did happen. That crow flew off with somebody in its clutches. I think it was a man curled up in a ball. Stranger things have happened, right? No, maybe not.
And now heading back up. So he tells you, if you haven't upgraded any weapons yet, that you should really do that. He doesn't notice the upgraded Astora's straight sword, because it's not a standard upgrade, it uses Twinkling Titanite. So that's why I get that message, even though I have an upgraded weapon. And he also gives us some helpful hints, in the form of saying that if we curl up into a ball somewhere, the crow might take us away. And we'll see about that soonish. Okay, now in this church we can head further up and make our way towards the boss of the area. Firstly though, there's a Boulder Knight up here. It's the rapier wearing kind, which are slightly harder to kill. They have a bit more HP and resistance than the ones carrying the Boulder Side Sword and the Boulder Shield. Okay, now here we can see a very convenient way to deal with this next section. Now you can see there, through these windows on the side, There's a guy carrying a huge trident, casting magic at us. And he also just did a weird little dance, which I don't think you really could really see. We wait here patiently and then advance just a little further. He will aggro. But the ambush triggered right behind him will not. So this is quite convenient. You'll notice that he has a bit of a blue particle effect around him. Sort of blue strands of magic floating about him. These indicate that he's currently buffed. His dance applies a buff that increases melee damage for him and other surrounding enemies. Now if you just wait here for a little while, this enables you to firstly kill him before killing the rest of the ambush, and it also allows you to wait for the buff to wear out on the other enemies, so they will go back to being the fairly weak type that they usually are. When they're fully buffed, they can do quite a bit more damage than normally. So this is a very dangerous room because there's 12 or so of these usually weak enemies all coming at you simultaneously. And if they're all buffed, then they can easily take you down in a few combos. Okay, here to the left in the room going forward, there's a large soul of a nameless soldier. And then going backwards a little bit, there's something to be seen. And once more, Seek Guidance provides us a little hint here as to what is coming in this next section. It says, prisoner ahead. Firstly, one more boulder knight to deal with. Again, fireballs work quite well. He dropped a buckler and the boulder gauntlets. They can actually drop the entire boulder set, but it looks much cooler on them than it does on player characters. And there's a somewhat well-hidden secret right here. There's a corpse in a barrel. If you destroy the barrel, you can grab a humanity. And this boarded up section can be destroyed. And we'll see what the mystery key was for that we found last time.
Oh, still human, are you? Then I am in luck. Could you help me? As you can see, I am stuck without recourse.
Now the master key will also work, so you don't need the mystery key.
Thank you. Yes, sincerely. I am Knight Lautrec of Carim. I truly appreciate this. And I guarantee a reward. Only later.
Right, now that I've saved him, let's head back towards Firelink Shrine. Using that handy little elevator shortcut. I'm going to turn myself human at the bonfire. And then Lautrec will be waiting right down here and we can talk to him.
Ah, hello there. I have your reward. Please, accept it. I am grateful to you for freeing me. Not enough for you? Well, let's not be greedy now. You again. What is it? Our futures are murky. Let's not be too friendly now.
And that's all he'll say for now. So, heading back up, I'm just quickly going to show you the easiest way to handle the boss of this area. For more in-depth information and different strategies and all that stuff, there will be a thorough boss guide coming up. So I'm not going to show you multiple kills in the walkthrough. Just the easiest way to do it. Since I'm currently human, this enables me to access certain online features, even though I'm not online. But there are some online features that are basically emulated by NPCs. So for one, as a human, I can summon help for boss fights. And for this particular boss fight, which is quite a bit trickier than the Taurus or Asylum demons you've seen so far, there's actually 2 NPCs that are willing to help. First one, I actually didn't need to climb this ladder. This is the summon sign for Knight Lautrec. This will only appear if you've saved him from his cell and spoken to him at Firelink Shrine. And the second is right here, Knight Solaire. This will only appear if you have agreed to him in his dialogue and basically said that you would like to cooperate with him. And these 2 together make this boss fight quite a lot easier, not to say trivial. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. So let's enter the fog gate. Again, the boss will only spawn after we've advanced a little bit into the area. Right about here. And because this boss fight later turns into a multi-enemy fight, it is quite a significant ramp up in challenge compared to anything you've faced previously, because you have to fight 2 enemies that are both pretty strong and have a lot of health. Whereas previously, strong enemies would usually be by themselves, or at least could be separated, which in this case doesn't work. And that makes the boss fight reasonably tricky. But you will see in just a second that it's really not that bad if you summon both of these knights to help you out. When the first gargoyle is at about 60% HP or thereabouts, the second one will spawn. And since the fight is moved towards this end of the arena where I was, I'm just moving along to the other side. I don't have to do anything. Unless things go severely wrong, these 2 NPCs can easily handle the bosses by themselves. Even if you only summon one of them, it tends to work out, but both of them, I have yet to see them fail. And while it may be boring, it is by far the easiest way to go about the fight. Exciting, isn't it? Now you get possibly the Gargoyle Helm and possibly the Gargoyle Halberd as a reward. And you can get the Gargoyle Tail Axe if you cut the tail of the first gargoyle. There's also a Gargoyle Shield, but I only got the helmet this time around. And yeah, the Twin Humanities and a Homeward Bone, which are guaranteed drops. Not to mention 10,000 souls, which at this point should still be quite a few level ups or quite a few items to buy, whatever you decide to do with it. After the fight, we can ascend some ladders here and make the first major progress with our current goal, which, as we've learned, is to ring the bells of awakening. And this is the first bell, or let's say it's one of the bells, which in almost all playthroughs will be the first one anybody rings. But while this is the usual progression in terms of difficulty and the way the areas open up, it's by no means mandatory to ring this bell first. It's just what will usually happen. Having done that, we can make our way back down. You could just use a Homeward Bone, but there is actually an NPC who spawns after you ring the bell.
Greetings. I am Oswald of Carim, the partner. Thou appearest to lack faith. Yet magnanimous are the gods. Cometh thou to confess, or to accuse? For indeed all sins my domain.
You can learn a gesture from him, and he also sells some basic items. The only thing that's really of interest to an offline player would be the Purging Stone or the Homeward Bone. Homeward Bone, you can just increase your supply.
Thou art welcome any time. It is only human to commit a sin.
On a first playthrough, maybe buy 1 or 2 of the Purging Stones. Right, anyway, some backtracking. I'm leveling up my faith to 25 on my cleric. And this is the bonfire right after the Drake Bridge. And having 25 faith allows me to now pray at the altar of sunlight. This 25 faith requirement will be reduced by 5 for every boss I've killed in co-op. So if I let myself be summoned for a boss and successfully defeat it with the other player, the faith requirement will go down from 25 to 20, then 15, then 10, then 5. Alright. This granted me access to the Lightning Spear Miracle, and now I am back in the Undead Burg. When I was here, I talked about the Black Knight and told you that I wasn't yet strong enough to deal with it, but now I am. And quite easily, in fact, it just takes 2 Lightning Spears. He can drop his sword and the shield as well, but in this case I did not get lucky. Mostly I wanted to show you the item he's guarding, the blue Tearstone ring. This ring decreases damage you take when you are at very low HP. A lot of new players equip this and wear it for quite some time, but it's actually a very useless ring. It only triggers when you're below 20% HP, and by that point even the reduced damage you would take from many attacks would still kill you. That's all the backtracking I wanted to do for today. So with this, the Undead Parish is finished, and next time we'll move on to Lower Undead Burg. So I hope you found this helpful, and as always, please leave any feedback you have. Bye bye.